Okay, we're back with let's learn something new. So we have another fintech company in the payment ecosystem called Curlec, Curlec, and what they do is they do direct debit recurring payment for you if you have membership to be paid monthly, or you have what do you call that purchases that has recurring, like furniture, they got installment payment. So I have here Daniel is one of the PIC working over in Malaysia office. So I will push this off to Daniel to introduce who is Curlec, what kind of services they do, and what kind of offer they're going to offer to our Go e-commerce community. Okay. Sorry, Daniel, over to you. Wait, let me. You're using the other one. Okay, let me kill my
Yeah.
view. Okay, the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you, Carol. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much to MDEC for having us on here. We really appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit more about what we're doing. And we do believe that our system, especially recurring payments, does have a place in the e-commerce world. It would just depend on the type of payments that you're planning to collect and also the type of products that's being sold. At Curlec, we are a payment. So what's in bold at the top here is direct debit. But at our core, we are a fintech company specializing in payments, specifically within financial technology, and within payments. We focus on recurring, and there are also a few different ways to collect recurring payments. But our sort of bread and butter is with direct debit, and we especially advocate direct debit because it's found to be a cheaper and more effective way for businesses to collect bank-to-bank payments, especially recurring payments. So what is the problem with collecting recurring payments? The problem lies in the options that are available to the business or even to a customer to choose to pay. But the ones that you see in front of you are the ones that we've sort of identified as being used the most by most people, especially by the majority of the population. But the one thing that binds them all together is the fact that they are all what we call push payments. So they are all done manually by the customer. So in the case of a cash and check, obviously they have to carry those around with them and then give it to the business. In terms of bank transfers, that has to be initiated online by the customer. And then in terms of credit cards, having to go to the shop every time they want to pay, or store where every time they want to pay, and having to do the pay wave or putting in their PIN in. And then the last thing is a standing order, which is as close to an automated recurring payment as you can get. However, there are still sort of stumbling blocks towards it, namely the fact that you can't change the date that you want to collect. Neither can you change the amount. And if you want to do so, you'd have to cancel that standing order and then create a new one. But regardless, the thing that binds all these four together, again, is the fact that they have to be initiated by the customer. And from the perspective of the business, there's only so much that you can do to make someone pay, especially if the goods or services has already been provided for. So to combat that, we advocate specifically direct debit. So as a baseline, direct debit is a little bit different from the payment methods I told you about earlier because it's what we call a pull-based method. But before we get into that, I'm just going to summarize what's being the main points on the page. What is a direct debit? Direct debit is essentially an instruction from a customer to their bank where they authorize a payment by a business to take money directly from their bank account on a recurring basis without having the customer to do anything else again in the future. So it's just a one-time authorization at the start, let's say to collect 100 ringgit every month. Once they've given that authorization to their bank, also saying who the payment is going towards. Once that's registered on the bank side, the business to which the direct debit is registered can just go and collect those payments when they are due without having the customer to do anything. So that's why it's called a pull-based payment and why we advocate it. Direct debit is also done via the bank-to-bank network. So all of the payments are done through PayNet's infrastructure. So we don't go through Visa and MasterCard. And because of that, we save on cost quite significantly. Now, some people watching this may never have heard of direct debit before. Some may be familiar with it, but if they aren't familiar with it, it's really quite common in Malaysia because it's in what we call an underutilized payment method. Um, I think everybody's familiar with things like credit card, online credit card payments, for recurring. But when it comes to direct debit, they may have heard of it, but they don't really understand it. And the reason, well, they may not understand it for various reasons, but the reason why it hasn't really kicked off is because it hasn't been used by many businesses in Malaysia, even though they may have had a need for recurring payments. And the main reasons why are the three that you see on the screen right now. So first, starting on the left, the first one is because it was paper-based. So the customers had to fill out a form, sign it, and then send it to the bank to get it registered. And that whole process could take between 1 to 3 months. Right, so a really long time, and that would actually put a lot of people off because they can't wait 1 to 3 months to get their money, right? And then if they did go through with the process, the registration had a success rate of only 30%. Sorry, had a failure rate of about 30%. So 30% of all the paper direct debits that were sent for processing would be rejected. So if you can imagine from the position of the business, they've already waited 1 to 3 months for this thing to go through, and it gets rejected and asked to resubmit again. I think what we've known is that a lot of people, they can't wait that long. They've already waited this long to get a rejection. So many just end up resorting to some more manual, but methods that they are more used to. Secondly, once the bank had processed all of these direct debits, a business or company would have to go and submit or collect all of the direct debits into a file, and then submit this collection file directly to the bank's portal for them to do the collection process. Once they've done that process, they will then provide another file for which you can download and then see in your own computer or system what the results are. And it's not really very nice. I think it's like text file essentially. So there was a lot of manual work involved with sending the payments out and also reconciling the payment statuses. Lastly, for the banks, direct debit wasn't a very profitable or not a payment method that they could charge high margins on. And as such, with a lot of paperwork that was involved and all the manual processes, they tended to impose certain impose certain restrictions on the types of companies that could actually subscribe to direct debit. So generally, they made sure that the companies had lots and lots of volume. So that's why maybe if you have heard of direct debit, you may have come across it. You may have done so through, like a insurance company or a unit trust company, or also what's another popular one? Water purifier companies, your Cuckoos and your Kobe's of this world. Yeah, they tend to use those too. So for those three reasons, direct debit wasn't very popular amongst businesses. But what have we done? So we've come into the picture, and we're not getting involved with the actual collection of the money. This process through which we've sort of joined ourselves into, it still remains the same. The direct debit, the collection process in terms of the bank doing the collection, and then PayNet getting involved, PayNet being the infrastructure for all of these collections and transactions, that hasn't changed. It's very much the same. What we've done is that we've built some software to help to facilitate some of the, well, first of all, facilitate the more manual processes that were involved. So all the transactions will happen as per normal, but then we will help customers here with registrations, with deciphering some payment statuses, and also understanding payment trends of their customers and tracking the statuses of all the collections. But I am going to go into here the three main features of the system. There's a bunch of other things that we do as well, and we will probably touch on some of these later during the demo, but these are the three main ones. So first of all, our system enables an online setup of direct debits, what we call it mandate, right? So those 1 to 3 month waiting periods, it's all over. It can all be done within the space of 1 to 3 days. The speed of that depends on the banks as well. Secondly, in terms of payment collection, we have a lot of automation set up in the system. So whenever somebody is, or whenever you want to collect from your customers, whether they may be on a fixed date or they all have their own dates, that can be set to each individual customer inside the system. And then when those dates have arrived, the system will automatically send these direct debit payments out to the bank to perform the collection. So everything is automated. And also once the payment is done, which we're now going to step number 3 or feature number 3. Once that payment is done, there's no more going to internet banking to see what the result of it is, because the bank will automatically update the payment statuses in our system. And so they will know, okay, who do we need to try and collect from again? And for what, or rather, who is unsuccessful? What are the reasons? What are the reasons why they're unsuccessful? And who can we collect from again? Because we have that ability to do so. Okay, so why do we advocate businesses to use Curlec? Well, if businesses these days are sort of thinking towards moving online, we believe that we can facilitate that, especially in terms of recurring payments. But even if it's for e-commerce one-off payments, we do that too via MasterCard and also through FPX. Through having an authorization, having a direct debit, it puts the merchant in control. So once that merchant has that authorization from the customer, effectively the customer doesn't need to do anything anymore until they want to stop, and then they need to tell the merchant, and the merchant can just stop it. Right? We are lower cost, but I say that with a pinch of salt. It's relative to the other credit card payment companies out there. Maybe not comparable to cash or check, or not check, cash or online transfer, which is not as expensive. The reasons for the merchant, they don't have to deal with paper forms anymore. They don't even have to remember to make any bill payments, because it will be taken directly from their account. And they can also access the Curlec portal, from which they can see the direct debits with however many companies they are subscribed to. And if the settings enable, they may have the option to terminate as well. But this is controlled by the merchant, depending on contractual obligations. So our team have actually been involved with direct debit for a very long time. It's been live in Malaysia since 2010, but the Curlec is a company. It's made up of another sister company that was involved with working with Paynet to build the backend processes for the direct debit. All the direct processes that go through, namely talking about the registration of the bank account number, and things like that. So we are very familiar with direct debit, and in fact, the idea only came about because our founders, after they had already helped to establish the direct debit infrastructure at Paynet, realized that with the paper-based process, there was still a lot of processes that could be made more efficient. Decided to actually set up Curlec, in order to help more businesses have access to this type of payment method. And then next, what we have is some of our biggest clients. Some names you may know, some names you may not. So I'll go through some of these in detail. With AXA, they are basically doing online insurance, medical insurance. So customers can sign up directly on their website. CTOS, for their reports, they charge a subscription fee. The second row, and Axiata, it's for their financing division. Stashaway, Funding Societies, Hello Gold, these are all, and Wahid even, these are all investment platforms. So they encourage their customers to either use Curlec to either deposit funds one-off. You can do it via FPX just one time, or majority of them actually get their customers, or encourage their customers to sign up to a direct debit so they can put funds away every month or so for investment purposes. Experian also charge a fee for their reports. And then in terms of Quartz, they've been doing installments for a long time, but they're just expecting, or they're just offering it through our service to give their customers different payment options. So with Quartz, customers will be able to purchase an item at the store and then set up a recurring payment, monthly payment over the course of a few years. So yeah, that's how we facilitate it for Quartz. But yeah, all these companies engage in recurring payments. This is our pricing. So we charge a transaction fee, a one-time registration fee, and we also have monthly subscription fees. The banks, depending on who you bank with, will most of the time it's around 1 ringgit. but sometimes there's certain banks. Oops, sorry, there's a typo here. Bank twice. Certain banks may charge less. Certain banks may charge more. So we will only find this out once we go to the bank with the intention of signing up as a direct debit merchant. Obviously, if you're speaking to some of our more popular partners or common partners, we can we know it by heart what the actual bank fees are, but it differs from bank to bank. Um, we also have card payments for both recurring and one time. Um, these it's not technically considered direct debit. For recurring is what we call auto debit. The pricing is different. It's a bit more expensive because it goes via Visa and Mastercard. But this is actually a supplementary service. Our core business is the bank to bank stuff, direct debit and FPX. This is more of an add-on when certain customers are needing transactions from a card rather than from a bank account. So we want to be able to provide them that flexibility too. I think I'll end it there for this.
Okay, go back to your transaction fees.
Sure.
The one that says the 30 monthly subscription fees. So are you telling the audience that the businesses that is suitable for this must have at least a monthly invoice billing to their clients, a minimum of 100 ringgit?
Yeah. So 1% of 1% it equates to about 10,000 ringgit. 100% would be 10,000 ringgit. So I wouldn't say that it only applies in that sense. I would say that if you are striving towards being able to collect up to 10,000 or more than 10,000 ringgit in fees every month, this is the type of business that we want to work with. So the thing about it, especially in the e-commerce world, is that you're going to come across quite a lot of people who are smaller companies, and then who will be rejected, or who may not get approval for PayPal or whatever else, right? And so they come to us, but we impose this because it's more that we want to be able to guarantee some revenue for ourselves, and obviously making sure that in terms of our return on investment, it's where we want it to be. But yes, I would say that maybe if you were a smaller business that is struggling to make the minimum monthly invoice, what we usually advise is, we at the initial stage, maybe they want to continue using a different payment method, or one that's more cost effective, until which point that they get to that sort of volume, and then it becomes a little bit too much for them to handle, right? Usually it's around this range, like when they're dealing with this kind of amount of money, that's when they need to start implementing automation and making things more efficient. So yes,
The criteria of a company, like a merchant
there's
like me.
it's no criteria. It's
Yeah.
more that this is the cost that you have to pay. Is this something that you can afford or not? So I really don't mind if you're a PLT, for example, or a sole proprietor. If you're generating these kinds of this value, that we don't really care. It's for us, it's more the total revenue. We don't, how do I say this? We won't discriminate and say that you're not fitting the criteria. We'll just say that this is the fee. If you can afford it, great. If you can't, maybe you might want to rethink whether it's the right thing for you.
So let's say that traditionally, when people like Courts Mammoth,
Yep.
they have to walk into a bank and work with the bank to do the direct debit instructions, right?
Correct.
So as big as Courts Mammoth, none of us are that kind of scale. So you're
Sure.
also providing the micro SMEs who has a subscription model that they can
Yep.
bill to their clients at least a 100 ringgit invoice value, then it's worth for them to consider using a bank to bank direct debit using your services, because a bank may not want to entertain them because they might be small, not as big as Courts Mammoth,
Exactly.
right? Yeah. So
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
setup fee is a one-time fee of 500 ringgit, and
One
there's
time.
no annual or renewal fee, right?
So we operate on a month-to-month basis. We don't commit clients to an annual contract, anything like that. It's you can cancel anytime. Just give us 1 month's notice. So that's why we charge on a monthly basis rather than on annual. Yeah.
So the clients, the subscribers of Curlec, they are able to use either bank FPX direct debit, and they can also use credit card. But credit card will be at the next slide, which is at 2.5%
Correct.
transaction, right?
So yeah, it's it's not really how do I say? It's not really one or the other. Our, like I said, our core business is this. So when the client
Mm,
signs up for Debit and FPX, we
mm,
then ask them, hey, do you need card payments? And then they may say yes or they may say no. But then and obviously if they do, then we'll sign them up for this because it's a completely different system. I mean, it's in our
mm.
system, but in terms of billing, in terms of how we process the payments in the back end, it's completely different from direct debit. So the reason why there's a subscription fee there is because we had to build a different billing system to
Wait. You're on, the internet cut you off. You have two
the
system. You have
yeah
two system.
yeah, so we have, this is one system, right?
Yep.
But within the system we have two payment methods which
Okay.
exist separate. Their process is different from each other. So that's why in the case of direct debit and FPX, because we register all of the merchants directly with
Mm,
PayNet Bank Negara, the
mm.
money goes straight inside their account, right?
So
We
for direct FPX, what is your settlement to the subscribers? How long will
for
it
F
settle?
for for FPX, it's instantly. The
Oh,
money will
okay.
be in the amount instantly. For direct debit, it follows IBG. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the bank windows. So you can only perform direct debit collections during IBG hours, which is actually during bank opening, bank working days or working days. Sorry, bank opening days.
Okay. So there are people who may not want to use this, let's say, subscription basis. Let's say, let's put an example. Just now we had Cuckoo, or those water guys, right?
Yep.
They have a lease 3 to 5 years. But is there anybody who, let's say, purchase of computer, laptop, or for something like that, and they want to offer 12 months um, payment scheme for their clients? They can use this as well.
Yes, I'm glad that you mentioned that actually, because this was going to be the example that I showed you,
Mm.
that I'm going to show
Oh,
you right now. So
okay.
this is one of our clients. It's Smart Rental.
Ah,
They do exactly
okay.
what you mentioned just now. They deal with electric goods, and their whole idea is that they want to do this on subscription. So they're using a WordPress website, and luckily for us, we've actually got WooCommerce. In fact, they're using
Ah,
WooCommerce as well, and we have a plugin built for recurring for both one-off. Sorry, for both recurring and one-off for WooCommerce, and they're
mm,
using the recurring one at the moment. So if I were to show you um, how they would do it, so let's just say I'm putting an order in to rent
mm.
this desktop PC, right? So I'm just gonna choose this one. So, okay, I can select my specification. You
Mm,
said 12 months, right? So let's say I choose 12 months. So the price will be
mm,
more expensive. LCD size is this much. Okay, so the monthly, so how Smart Rental do it is that they charge on a monthly basis, but at the initial stage, they will take the 3 months advance payment. Sorry,
oh, okay.
uh, months advance
Three
rental.
months.
Yeah, and also 3 months rental. So I think it's a 6 months last security
Oh,
deposit.
okay.
So
Okay.
then we have in the backend, we've already set it up that this next payment after the 408 will be
Mm,
taken from the fourth month onwards. So
okay.
these are things that we can play around with. So the reason why they wanted WooCommerce is because they want the store function within WooCommerce, right? Because
Okay.
obviously we can also integrate to other types of websites. But in this case, let's say they want the ability for the customer to be able to add this to their cart.
Mm,
And then once they've added this to their cart, to be able to check out. Yeah,
mm.
here we go. Uh, let's say I am proceeding with the checkout. It should happen anytime
Do you help the subscribers in terms of training to do
now. Of
the
course,
setup? Yeah. Okay,
of
that's
course.
good.
So each the setup fee, that 500 ringgit actually um, is included in that is a one-on-one training session.
Oh, okay.
Once they've gone live, because we have had instances, especially we're a startup, right? We've been around for 2 years, had instances where maybe some clients came on board and they didn't really understand it, and then we didn't
Mm,
get as much usage from it as we would have liked. So we learned from that, and we decided that actually, what, this system, as you come to see later, it's not the easiest of things to understand. So it's actually really, really useful for us, for all parties, in fact, when we sit down with them and help them understand, exactly how to use the system and also how to implement it in their business. So we do that too.
cool.
Okay, so we've added it to the cart, and now I'm going to the cart. I'm not going to go through with it just yet.
You
Um,
only
this-
integrated with WordPress or any other platform?
we have WordPress, WooCommerce, ECWit, um, and then usually the rest of the time, Shopify, not yet. I think they need to enhance the API first before we can do that. But the rest of them tend to be custom websites. So the most common thing that happens is unless they're on WordPress, ECWit, or WooCommerce,
Okay.
we will give our API over to their developer, and the developer will integrate our system into their website. That's usually the process.
Does a training company, university, or education, those kind of training, college, and do they use you guys for recurring payments?
Okay, so we don't have any universities under us at the moment, but we do have tuition centers, we
Okay.
have childcare centers, we have swimming schools, we have um, some online platforms for learning and training. Yeah, you're right. We do have some as well. Uh,
Okay.
so yeah, it's essentially whoever wants to start collecting online, like, because we found that that even brick and mortar businesses can use us. It doesn't have to just be
Mm.
online businesses. Anybody who wants to have an online presence and wants to have the ability to collect payments online, it helps if they want to help collect payments online. Then we can definitely work with them, lah.
Okay.
Um,
Interesting.
and obviously we're seeing a lot of that, right? With what's been happening with COVID and all. So it's been good for us, being able to meet a lot
Cool.
more people.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is using the
Yep.
WooCommerce function.
Okay.
I'm not going to go through with it now, but I will,
Okay.
if you guys are using WooCommerce, you'll probably be familiar with the font and stuff. It's exactly the same. So they'll collect all of this information mostly for delivery purposes, right? This
Mm.
is, all very familiar, but for us, we need some other information in order to process the direct debit mandate. So this is where our bit comes in. So we need to collect their ID number,
Okay.
and we also need to know their bank so that we can direct them to their online banking page to perform the authorization.
Okay.
So feel free to check this out, guys. I know
Mm.
we ourselves are users of Smart Rental, so we subscribe to some of their some laptops
Ah,
from them, and I think it's been pretty good service so far. No complaints.
what happened if the bank couldn't retrieve money from the bank account of, let's say, my bank account? There's not enough money. So what kind of alerts do I receive to say that, oh, please pump in money, we're trying to get money? So what kind of alerts that you all have?
Okay, so obviously, one of the main concerns by merchants is that, how do I know, how do you inform me that a payment hasn't been successful? Because what you need to understand about our payments, it's based on available funds in the account at the time, and also, what the credit limit may be on the credit card. So, for example, if we're trying for 300 ringgit, trying to collect 300 ringgit, but there's only 250 inside the account, we
Mm.
won't collect part of it or even some of it. We just won't collect it at all. It will consider a failed payment, lah. So, when we send these over to the bank then has to actually provide what we call a receipt file. This receipt file will contain, let's say I sent 100 names to collect today, right? The
Okay.
receipt file should contain 100 other names with each will have their respective statuses lah, whether successful or unsuccessful.
Okay.
So, at this stage, we do have quite a number of alerts inside the system. You can send emails to customers a few days before the payment is being taken out. And then in terms of the company who's using Curlec, they can be notified
Mhm.
whenever the bank has returned what we call the receipt file. They can then also be notified of all individual failed payments that have happened. So we do allow this inside our system because we understand that our merchants want to know this as soon as possible, so they know if they need to act, right? If they need to act, or if they need to contact a customer to ask them, what happened. So yeah, these
So
can
you
all
have
be
that.
done inside the system. Yes, correct.
So show us a demo on how do they set up like a set of let's say this is a fitness center. Uh,
Sure.
so yeah, show us a demo on how does a fitness center set up a recurring payment. People who sign up from a website, for example.
All right. Let me just share my screen.
Okay.
Do let me know when. Okay,
Yep.
I can see
Can
it
see
now.
now.
Okay, cool. All right, sweet. So, before we start, I think the best thing that I need to explain about the system is that it's not some sort of hardware or anything like that. It's a system that exists on the cloud.
Mm.
So you can access from anywhere that has a Wi-Fi connection, or not
Mm.
Wi-Fi, sorry, internet connection, as long as you have access to a browser. So this can be done on your phone, on your laptop, on your tablet, whatever it may be. right now, as you can see here, it says demo server, but it looks and feels exactly like the what we call the live server lah. But yeah, if a merchant signs up with us, they will be given their access details.
Okay.
So they come to this page and they log in. So the homepage basically is a bit of data analytics that we're delving into. So on the left hand side, there are debit collections. It should already be changed to recurring because we do cut collections now as well. But on the left hand side, it's the recurring payment collections. On the right hand side, it's your instant pay or one-off payment collection. So you'll have some customers who only do recurring, some customers who only do instant pay, but majority of the time you'll have a mix of both lah among some of our customers. We also list down all the successful and unsuccessful payments, and I'll go into detail later about how we help you to recover some of these unsuccessful payments, especially. But let us start first at the mandate form. So if you remember just now, I spoke about how direct debit before this was done via paper forms. And when we
Yes.
went to E, this is basically the manifestation of it lah. This is
Okay.
what the paper form has turned into. So right now you can see FPX basically signals direct debit, online banking, right? And then Visa Master is for the card payment feature that I mentioned to you just now. But they both use the same logic in terms of the mandate form. They still need customers to fill in their details. The details that are required do differ between both types of payment methods. Like for example, in the case of direct debit, FPX, I need to put my IC number inside. And then I also need to select my bank. And for the purposes of this, I have to use the fake bank, fake demo bank, SBI Bank A. You can also put things like, effective date by default is today. But then, for example, if that person is only starting, I don't know, end December or even only starting in 2021, these things can be done. They can set it up in advance of time. But usually it's today's date lah. You can also put an expiry date on it so that after the date that has been stated here, we can't collect from the customer anymore using direct debit. All right. So let's say. So the cool thing about direct debit, and also this also applies for our card feature actually, is that when the customer is authorizing, they're authorizing a business to collect up to this amount here, up to what we call the maximum amount per transaction. So he's approving up to 1,000 ringgit, but the automatic monthly amount maybe at the initial stage is only 200. So you leave that gap for a number of different things. Either you want to collect defaulted payments, like let's say 2-3 months unpaid, you want to collect one shot, it can be done. Or sometimes they also want to add interest if there's late payments, right? Or in general, if prices increase, because prices can increase from year to year, right? So that can be done too. Now, this is something that's quite cool. I don't want to delve on it too long, but let's say back to my example just now, he signed up here in 3rd of November, but he only wants to start collecting payments from the 1st of December for 1 year. So what I can do is I can set a period on this right now. So this can go from 1st December to 31st November 2021, right? 30th, sorry, not 30th. So what will happen is that on this date, it'll start collecting on this date, it will end on this date. But then after this date, we won't collect from them automatically anymore. However, they can, because there's no expiry date on the mandate, we can resume, let's say they renew the contract for another year, then the customer can be collected from again for a whole year. So in this way, because if they put an expiry date, that is great, obviously, to the customer, it's okay, after this 1 year, we're not going to charge you using this anymore. Great. But from the business, it's like, hey, if you want to renew, I have to go through this full approval process with you again. So some of our clients, they actually say, we're going to leave your expiry date open. We have these things to limit when the period in which we collect. And then after this is finished, they'll come and speak to them again and say, hey, do you want to continue? And they say yes, then they'll just, you can actually do this in our other thing here, where you can set the date. Okay, let's say to 2020, the year finished already. Say, okay, 2021, I want to continue again. So you just come here and then you update his new start date and his new end date. So these are things that can be controlled. And
Wait, you're breaking up.
hi, Carol, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, just some features that we've actually introduced based on feedback from customers. So our system isn't something that's just right. It's just going to stay the same forever. It's things that we're actively trying to improve based on feedback. But anyway, I don't want to spend too long on this. Let's say this is all okay. There's a few ways that this can be given to the customer. Obviously, in our example now, it's a gym client, right? Let's say I walk into the gym, I help to fill all of this out, and then I'm ready to authorize by paying RM1, right? But what some of our clients, they don't have any face time with their customers at all. So they
Yeah.
actually need to be able to give this, they might even help to, because they know like, okay, I know your business registration number, IC number, I know your bank, I know the dates that you're collecting, I even know how much I'm charging you. But you're not here right now to be able to approve it. So the options that they have is that they can either email this to the customer, or if I put my phone number in here and I'm using WhatsApp web, I don't have the demo right now because I'm using a system that isn't that isn't optimized for this. I
Okay.
said I do save in WhatsApp. It will go to WhatsApp web, which is open here, let's say, and then it will send the link directly to the customer's WhatsApp. So that's also been a request from one of our customers, which is now being widely utilized. But for this example, let's say the person has come to your gym and they say, okay, I'm ready to pay RM1 to authorize the, I can't, sorry. Okay. To authorize the RM200 payment every month. So I'll use myself as an example. I'm a Maybank user. So this will actually direct me to my Maybank to you. Okay. So I will sign in with my login details. And then what I will see is actually a drop-down option, and I will be able to see my savings account number and my Visa credit card number. I just need to choose one, because when I pay the RM1, or let's say I press confirm, TAC gets sent to my phone, and then I verify with the TAC, that account that I selected is the one that will be charged the recurring. So you can't suddenly approve savings account and suddenly want to change to a credit card. You have to do another mandate for that. You get what I mean?
Okay.
So they can't just switch in between. So yeah, so that's the first crucial part, which is the registration. Once they've approved it, they will be included in our system. They will be entered into the database of clients that they have doing recurring payments. So what you can see is that, okay, they approve maximum amount this much, collecting this much. There are things that you can do. Like I said just now, you can change things like the start and end date. You can change the collection date if everybody has differing dates, as an example. So all of this is like your customer database. And then what I mentioned just now, if you remember, is that we can collect everything automatically. So how I would do that is that it's a separate setting. I can go here and I can select, and we also have a number of different payment frequencies, from daily, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly. But the most common one obviously is monthly lah. So with monthly, I can collect from everyone either on the same date. So this will collect from all of my customers on the first, which tends to be the case for gyms. But what is selected more often is this mandate effective date, whereby, if you remember, the mandate effective date is this one here. So it's this one. But now we have a new thing, which you can determine the start date. So you can separate the effective date from the start date lah. This is the advantage of this field now. So yeah, everybody can have their own respective collection dates. And also, like I said just now, if for example, that person was paying on the 15th, suddenly he said, oh, my salary comes in on the 28th, can you change the 28th? You just need to do this one time for that person, change the 28th, and then we will only collect from him on the 28th.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
So we get to change it as a subscriber to Curlec.
Correct. Exactly. The merchant is fully in control.
Cool. Okay. Interesting. So there are options for people to do instant pay just now, a one-time payment. But is that if I have an EC with or WordPress, how do I don't apply the other payment gateway available, but I'm using Curlec as a one instant pay. So how do I put that on?
Actually, we have our plugin is available on the App Store in WordPress. So you can EasyWait also. So you'll actually be able to download you'll be able to download it and install it into their WordPress site. There are certain things like callback queues and stuff that need to be done. I sort of have a very high level understanding of it, but I don't actually know how it works.
No problem,
where they basically have to, they'll be given some IDs which they need to input in their website. And then once they've input it into their website, basically they can communicate with each other. But it's from what I understand, it's a relatively simple process. It's just that if we don't have a existing integration or existing plugin, there might be a bit of work done by the developers, or required to be done by the developers. Yeah.
Interesting.
But I will show you Instant Pay just since we're talking about it. So with Instant Pay,
Mm.
it's again exactly the same, but the fields the data that's required is even less. Email,
Oh.
description, amount, and bank. And in the case of card, all you need is email, description, amount. This extra stuff is things that the merchant can manipulate. For example, if they have to deliver, they can ask the customer to fill in the delivery address. So we allow a lot of flexibility, customizability, sorry, within the system itself. So this will go through the same process, go to your internet banking, approve via TAC, and instead of RM1, it'll be the full amount. And with Instant Pay, it's like e-commerce. Every time you want to make the
Yeah.
payment, you have to do TAC. It's no choice.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only way to keep it secure, I guess.
Okay.
Cool. That's about it. I have one last thing actually. When
Mm.
you deal with, I want to talk about the notifications that you were asking about just now.
Yeah.
So we have a few notifications. So for example, like I told you, like the receipt file when we get it from the bank, this can be,
Mhm.
if a merchant puts the email in there, they can be prompted every time it happens. Failed collection also, you just need to put your email in there. If a mandate has an expiry date and is about to expire, you can even say, okay, 2 months before it expires, please let me know so I know when to talk to the customer. So these are some of the notifications we've come up with. There's
Okay.
also some automated emails. I think this is pretty standard for most software, right?
Yeah.
But I think the one that I want to show you, which I like a lot, is our ability to retry. So this was actually
Ah.
something that was obviously, as you can imagine, right? It's in high demand by our customers, the ability to
Mm.
control when they can collect back from their customer.
Mm.
So the example that's stated here, this frequency is that we will try every 3 days,
Mhm.
and I can try up to let's say 4 times lah. So that means after the first payment, let's say every 3 days, I will try again up to the fourth time, and then it will stop. So some people, they say it's okay. I know my customer every day. I want to try from him every day. So they might put something like this, so we'll try from them every day. So this
Is
is
there any
entire
additional charges for this?
no
Oh,
additional
okay.
charges. Yeah, we only charge
Nice.
on successful transactions.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is one way, because obviously we can't guarantee that we do collect the money. So this is one way
Yeah.
to say, hey, as long as you trust the guy to have money in his account, we can try as many times as you wish
Okay.
to try and get the money. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's
That's all?
essentially it. I mean, I don't want to go into too much detail. There's a bunch of other stuff,
Okay.
but the core of what we've spoken about has been explained in some of the features that I've showed you. Essentially, it's online registration, automatic collection, and reconciliation.
Mm.
Yeah, sorry, those two things were two separate things. So yeah, automatic collection and also automatic reconciliation. So yeah,
Cool. At least it can reconcile. Your system can reconcile. Don't have to
yeah,
think
for sure.
a headache that I have to reconcile if my reconciliation manually cannot be done. Yeah. See?
Checking your bank statement, is it?
Yeah. I have to check with bank statement. So that was good. So how can the people come and get in touch with you, if they were to be keen subscribing
All
or
right.
want to know more about this?
So what they can do is, if they're really interested, they can go and visit our website
Okay.
to learn a little bit more about us. Or if they want to speak to one of our sales representatives, they can directly email us. And even if they go to the website, our phone number is there. So sometimes
Okay.
people choose to call. But we've actually got a special deal, and this is special. You call it a special deal, a special offer for whoever you are circulating this video to,
For our
Carol. Correct, for
thank
your
you.
end user. So for what we've decided to offer is to give 50% off the setup fee for anybody who signs up through this link. So I'll provide
Okay.
it to you separately, Carol, and then you can attach it to
Can.
the video wherever you might be posting it.
When is the expiry date for this? Because I'll be putting this on the newsletter as well. Once the video is edited up, then I'll
No,
do that.
no expiry date.
Oh, yay. Okay, can. Boleh.
Can,
Okay, awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, you
So
share me the link later.
anybody who comes through this channel, we will automatically be notified. So
okay.
please try and fill out with as complete information as possible so we can get in touch.
All right.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was good. Short, sweet,
Cool.
and simple this time around. So thank you for your time, Daniel.
No worries. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
So
Yeah.
much clearer this time compared to the last session that we had.
Yeah.
So that's it. This is what you call that? What we're doing right now. Let me go there. So
Stop
this
sharing
is
my screen.
something that we learn about recurring payment, because if you have existing payment gateway and they do not offer this because it takes up a lot of their time, or they need to see qualification, or they need to see whether your volume is big or not. So Curlec is the one that can do for any type of business, sole proprietor, LPN, is it what you call it?
PLT,
Private
something.
limited.
Yes, that's it.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. The private limited one, even for Singaporean, even as small as sole proprietor, you can start doing this: tuition teacher, piano teacher. But
Mhm.
again, reminder that your billing must be beyond the 100 ringgit recommendation, because anything that goes lesser than your cost will not be optimized. Okay,
Correct. Yeah.
so go back to the link later. I will show the link to get the registration, and I will share this edited video onto the relevant groups later, and also to our MDEC Go e-commerce newsletter. Thank you so
Mhm.
much for the offer, Daniel.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it,
Yeah,
Carol. And
thank
then,
you.
yeah, appreciate it very much. So hope to see you soon. Take care.
Yes, thank you,
Okay.
everybody. So thanks for staying put for Let's Learn Something New on this edition. Let's make some money for you guys, get people to pay you guys, and see you again in the next episode of Learn Something New again. Okay, take care. Bye bye. Bye,
Thank
Danielle.
you. Thank you, Carol. Bye.